This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, we are live in Los Angeles on iHeart, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Joy Taylor is joining me in a Monday 1 hour from now where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. Plenty of both. Jay Glazer's joining us in 25 minutes. Excited to hear that. Wednesday, free agency starts in the NFL. Joy, how are you?
I'm great. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. So Antonio Brown, we were sort of waiting for this to happen on Friday.
Right.
And then it happened on Sunday, Saturday. Antonio Brown is now a Raider. And, everybody is saying the Raiders won. They got the star. Poor Steelers. So let me just talk about the Raiders situation. First of all, this entire NFL, there's a salary cap. This is not baseball. It's a salary cap. So everything comes down to value. The current dynasty in the NFL is the Patriots. They get value out of everybody, including their greatest of all-time quarterback, Tom Brady. He's about the 18th highest paid, 12th highest paid quarterback in the NFL, somewhere in the middle of the league. So even with their star player, they get value. There is no chance for the Raiders to get value with this contract. I'm not saying it's a disaster, but this is like buying a Bentley. You may say it's worth every penny, but there's no value with it. You're not getting a deal on a Bentley. This contract is a massive deal for a perimeter player. This deal only works for the Raiders because they gave up draft picks, and they're a rebuilding team. Rebuilding teams don't give up draft picks. This only works for the Raiders. If Antonio Brown, for what they paid him, is great for 3 straight years, elevates not only himself but Derek Carr in the offense, stays healthy and happy, and is never disgruntled. A lot of big ifs. By the way, he's leaving a locker room that's averaged 10.5 wins since he's been there, and he's entering a locker room that's averaged 6.5 wins since he entered the league. You think he's going to be happy? You don't ever think he'll be frustrated? Let me ask any of you listening or watching today, ever worked at a good company? Then you make a little more money and go to a bad company? Gets frustrating, doesn't it? People around you aren't as better. Bosses aren't as smart. Coworkers aren't as talented. Okay, there's no value on this deal for the Raiders. They got a super talented guy, and they paid dearly for it. Teams that pay wide receivers that kind of money don't go far in the playoffs. Vocal star wide receivers are very similar to home run hitters in baseball. They're expensive, they're popular, they're wildly fun, and they don't do much in the postseason because you become dependent on both. You have a big home run hitter, and a baseball team just sits back and continues to wait for a 3-run home run. Then you get to the postseason, and people pitch around him. That's why the big home run kings never end up winning the World Series. Same with superstar wide receivers. Even Randy Moss in New England didn't do squat in the playoffs with Tom Brady. You become dependent on the star receiver for your offense. Then the postseason comes, gets windier and colder, not as much a vertical passing league, and teams roll their coverage over, take him away, and you're sitting there as an offense going, uh-oh, Tyreek Hill, Kansas City Chiefs. Didn't he kind of disappear against New England? This is what I don't understand, is that you had Amari Cooper, and now you have Antonio Brown. Let's equate them to sports cars. Flashy, fun, not as good in the winter. So Amari Cooper had less miles on him, was cheaper, and had no previous injuries with the transmission, with the engine. Antonio Brown is older, had more miles on the car, way more expensive, and got into a crash recently. Why wouldn't I just keep the cheaper, younger sports car? I mean, there's like a salary cap in the NFL. There's a speed limit, 65 miles an hour. If Antonio Brown can get to 65 faster than Amari Cooper can get to 65, congrats. But they both get open, and they're both fast, and they're both flashy, and they both get first downs. This feels like the Raiders are just making stuff up to me. This was not a long-term plan. This feels like they're trying to sell tickets. This is not some well-thought-out plan. Antonio Brown wasn't on the market 3 months ago. They got rid of Khalil Mack. They got rid of Amari Cooper. They looked like they were adopting the New England Patriots style of football. Pay your quarterback, although don't pay him top 5 salary. Get rid of stars, accumulate draft picks, and have a really solid roster. And then all of a sudden this weekend, maybe the ticket sales aren't going well in Vegas. Maybe John Gruden's trying to win the locker room. Let's pay for a 31-year-old wide receiver who's got a lot of miles, who's got a lot of ego and doesn't really fit the plan we kept selling to our locker room a year ago. I mean, I'm happy for Antonio Brown. I'm happy for all athletes who make money. This is not an anti-Antonio Brown thing. But this only works for the Raiders if for all 3 years he's just unbelievable and there's no complaints and he elevates Derek Carr and he stays healthy. And good luck. He's 31. Derek Carr's not Big Ben, though I like him. Their offensive line's not nearly as good as the Steelers. They don't have a dependable running game. Antonio Brown's going to get double-teamed every good team they play. And my gut feeling is they become highly dependent on him because John's paying him so much. He's going to want 13 targets and 9 catches and 2 touchdowns a Sunday, which over the course of time, you become dependent on the home run hitter, the star wide receiver, and it doesn't help you at the end of seasons. So, you can say what you want about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They paid nothing for Antonio Brown for 3 to 4 years. They got him in the 6th round. And then when they had to pay him, they still didn't pay him great. Antonio Brown was underpaid his entire time in Pittsburgh. Then they got rid of him and got 2 picks. Now, for this year, a little bit of a, capital gains tax, if you will, on that stock. They got to pay a big chunk of his salary for a year. But, this morning, everybody's poo-pooing the Pittsburgh Steelers. And my takeaway is, folks, the dream of every general manager in this league is to find a 6th-round player who becomes a Hall of Famer. And then when you actually do have to sign him, you still don't make him a top 15, top 20 paid wide receiver. All the Steelers did on Antonio Brown is get, and they didn't give much. I get why he's frustrated. Well, I get why Antonio Brown was frustrated. He'd been the best wide receiver in the league, arguably, for 3 years, and he's not getting paid like it. And they got him on the cheap coming out of college, and they just got 2 picks for him. The Steelers have a history of working those 3rd and 5th round picks into players. I put it up here on the board for our FS1 viewers. Since he came into the league, they've found 7 or 8 guys after the 3rd round. 3rd round or later that can play. That's not the Steelers' issue. And I'm happy for Antonio Brown, and I think he'll be a nice player for the Raiders. But this deal only works for the Raiders if he is just absolutely happy and healthy and hits a home run for 3 straight years. There's no value in the NFL paying a wide receiver $16, $17 million. It's like a Bentley. There is no value. They may be worth it after 3 years owning it, but you're not getting a deal on the Bentley. The Steelers got a complete deal on Antonio Brown breaking into the league. They still got a good deal with his first big contract, and they let him go, and they get 2 more picks. I'm on that side. Let me shift to this. One of the great things about sports is that it gives us the impossible and the improbable. Things that would seem ludicrous become reality. If I would have told you a month before it happened, hey, Michael Jordan's the best basketball player in the world, he's going to quit and go play minor league baseball. Hot take, clickbait, you're just trying to get... No, it happened. If I was going to tell you, so listen, Tiger Woods is 32 in his prime. In like a week, he's never going to win another major. Going to have like 30 affairs. Hot take, that is exactly what happened. Sports gives us the impossible. Hey, George Foreman. He's fat now. He's going to come back into boxing and become heavyweight champion of the world. Oh, that happened. That's why we love sports. That's why we love it. So there's this guard. He's a skinny kid. His dad was a decent NBA player. He plays at Davidson. He's going to come into the NBA, and he's going to revolutionize the sport. Yeah, that happened, Steph Curry. That's why I love sports. So Jeff Van Gundy's on TV this weekend. And he says something, and I love his courage to say something, which I agree with him, but it's going to get pushback, and people are going to rip him, and they're going to roll their eyes. But MJ played minor league baseball. The little kid from Davidson revolutionized basketball. George Foreman came out of retirement to become heavyweight champ. And Tiger Woods at 32, unraveled and never won another major. So here's what Jeff Van Gundy said during a Laker broadcast.
They have to rebuild this roster, right? And to me, it could be a trade for an Anthony Davis, or I think they need to explore trading LeBron for getting as much as they can.
What are you doing? Seriously. No, seriously, what are you doing?
No, you got to get on the right timeline. I'm going to say, if I could trade him for the Clippers into cap space, which would give me a better chance to get Durant or Kawhi Leonard, would I not do that?
Okay, LeBron James is not getting traded, okay?
You got to put everything on the table.
No, you can't. Mike, why are we even entertaining this, man?
Why? I don't understand how you would. Why would you take anything off the table? You'd have to get a home run deal, but if you go to a contender and you can get a home run, you do whatever you have to do to get better.
You need a day off.
Okay, by the way, what does CEOs say when the company is struggling and they invite all the vice presidents in the room, men, women, old, young? Here's what CEOs say. Everything's on the table. Give me ideas. Folks, I don't know if you noticed this weekend, but Brandon Ingram, talented, not great, but good young player, has a medical condition that was discovered. He is no longer a trade piece. I talked to somebody inside the LeBron circle, and they realize he is now a Laker. He is not a trade asset. He's got a serious medical condition. Lonzo Ball, by the way, it was announced this weekend, is out for the rest of the year, meaning he has now missed as many games as he's played in his first 2 years in the NBA. They cannot trade for Anthony Davis. It's over. They don't have the assets. The number one asset they have is LeBron. The number two asset they have is Kyle Kuzma, shot 31% from threes. Their number three asset is, cross your fingers, maybe a lottery draft pick. You've got to consider everything. When the news came down this weekend about Brandon Ingram's medical condition and Lonzo Ball sitting out the rest of the year, they do not have the assets to land Anthony Davis. It's now about crossing fingers, hoping Kyrie Irving befriends LeBron again. Not going to happen. Hoping Kevin Durant leaves and decides to go to the lousy Lakers from the great Warriors. Not going to happen. Kawhi Leonard, no, put an end to that story this weekend. Again, another source saying he's not going to be a Laker. Klay Thompson, oh, please, pipe dream. Folks, once the Brandon Ingram news came down, once Lonzo's out for the year, those are no longer assets. People are not clamoring for a C-minus Lonzo Ball with a daddy issue who can't stay healthy, and many people suspect is more bust than brilliant. And Brandon Ingram, very good kid, has a serious medical condition. No team's trading for that. You've got to consider everything. And LeBron is by far and away the one piece that could land you multiple draft picks and multiple players. Hell, there could be a team out there that would just want him for the merchandising, for the brand. But Jeff Van Gundy, tip of the cap for having the guts to say something that will get pushed back on. But Steph Curry, George Foreman, Tiger Woods never winning again, miracle on ice. That's why we love sports. Crazy stuff not only happens, it happens frequently. Crazy. By the way, here we go. Oh, we got something happening in the NFL. Back in a second. Oh, crazy town. When men and women upgrade from their tattered, outdated multi-pack underwear to Tommy John, the most comfortable on the planet, they have a lot to say about it. Like Scott, who's happy his double agents are no longer going rogue, or Melissa, whose Tommy Johns are so light and comfortable, she worries she'll forget to pull them down when she goes to the bathroom. What? Tommy John men's and women's underwear. No wedgie guarantee. Stay put comfortable waistbands. Dress shirts, undershirts, always stay tucked. Loungewear, I wear that, ridiculously soft. For ladies, the new Air collection is made from quick-drying, antimicrobial fabric. Seamless bonded edges. No panty line guaranteed. Tommy John is so